So we have Doris, who is joining us after the introduction. So Doris is a friend who I have known for, let's just say, many years. So I've known her since we were kids, and she is one of those people who you wonder if she has 24 hours in a day, because she seems to be doing everything. She is a mother, she is a wife, she sings, she has a job, she runs a business, she's counseling people. Recently found out that she's been writing a whole paper. She actually did a PhD, and she's a mother of many. So I don't know, I'm still struggling with a master's, and I'm a mother of two. So I think she is just one of those women that you need to look at every time you're thinking, oh no, I can't do it anymore. Someone is doing it. So Doris and I are going to talk to you about passion. We are going to talk about there's the work you do for money, and then there's what you do because you love it. If you're lucky, what you love brings you money. But sometimes there's just something fulfilling about doing what you love. And we're going to find out what it is that Doris loves. Of all this resume of hers, which one is the one that makes her feel like a human being? So Doris, say hi to my viewers and introduce yourself how you would introduce yourself, Dr. Changi.
Hi, everybody. Mercy, thank you for having me. As you've mentioned, we've known each other for many years. Today we're going to talk about passion. So so definitely people are curious to know what I'm passionate about. First of all, thank you, Mercy, for that introduction. I'm a mother of four. I'm married. I run an organization. I'm passionate about music. I think for me, it's been easier because Mercy, you've known me for years. So it's been pretty clear. From the time we were in primary, I loved music. I mean, I was that child that would prefer listening to music to playing. I was always in the house. In fact, my mother would chase me outside, go and play with your friends. But I preferred staying indoors, listening to music. And these were days before YouTube. So if you had a nice song, you had to stay next to the radio forever
until you know all the words.
Yeah,
write down the words.
Probably a song by Mariah Carey or let's say Emigrant. You had to go through several hours of rumba and reggae
for you to listen to this song.
For you to listen to that song again.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then somehow I understood. For me, I thought everybody could sing because when I would sing, it sounded very nice. You know, when I would, it sounded like the people I was emulating. So I thought it was kawa. Like I didn't think it was a big deal. But honestly, I was passionate about it. And then, you know, luckily our time we used to do music in primary school. Oh yeah, and our teacher, Mr. Odondo, was there with his guitar. So that also, you know, held me. I mean, and we had singing groups. And so for me, that path was kind of always clear. I know there are several people who are still struggling to know what they're passionate about, you know, and even where their purpose lie. So for me, I've always been lucky because that path was pretty clear from the time I was young. Yeah.
I remember, I mean, we did have the choirs, and you were always in the choirs. You had a singing group. I think I asked you this recently, but you played guitar from primary school. So I asked you if you are self-taught. How does that develop? Is it something that you just felt, I want to learn instruments, or was that just a natural progression? I sing, so I need an accompaniment with my singing.
Okay. What happened when I was around 12 years old? I remember my father traveled to Asia. I think it was Japan. And he came back home with a guitar. I didn't believe anybody could have a guitar at home. You know, a guitar was something you do in church.
Exactly.
On TV. Like, it was in our house. We had one. And as I mentioned, this was before YouTube era. And the guitar came with a book, Learn Guitar. And there they were. And it's interesting, Mercy, I've never really moved forward to learn other keys and other new styles of playing. It's what I learned those days that I still, and that is why you will see me with a guitarist when I'm singing, because I've realized, I mean, there are so many things that I still haven't mastered with that instrument. But so that is how it all began. So when he came home actually we also had an accordion, you know, and there he still had an accordion up to, you know, you're aware he passed on this year.
Yeah.
So when I go home to see my mom, yeah, my dad's accordion is there. So the accordion also introduced me to keys, you know, the piano keys, and I would understand, oh, you want to sing this key, or this is the real C. You know, they were taught in primary, the 2 black keys. Yeah. And the 3 black keys. So that opened doors. And my family was a very musical family. Growing up, there was music.
I see that. I mean, I saw you singing with your brother, and I was like, wow, what an interesting family. Exactly. Our family are very good at singing off key.
Because
we love singing, but singing doesn't seem to love us. I recently realized that I can sing in a group, but by myself, things fall apart when I'm singing by myself. I can't keep the tune when I'm by myself. So yeah. I mean, then life happens, because I mean, even me, there are things that I was passionate about. Well, I thought I was passionate about them. And then I grew up. And then responsibilities happened. And then I had to get a job. I had to do ABC, because my passion was writing. It still is. It's just now that I'm going back to it. But for a very long time, I couldn't write, because where was the time? I had to be a mother. I had to do things. So when did you ever reach a place in your life where you put the passion on hold, or is it something you continued with even when you are feeling like, okay, fine, I have too much?
Exactly, you're right. Life happens. And I think for me, the biggest shock was like realizing that I have to work hard for my music. Because I thought, you know, I mean, I have the talent, so I would just finish high school, continue singing, and the world will accept me, and success. Seeing me getting Grammys and whatever, you know, I thought that was how it was meant to be, until I realized that, wait, this just requires so much work, as much as any other, you know, and I think that time I was still young. So I kind of gave up, you know, because life was happening, kids were arriving, I'm expected to have a career. So I kind of gave up on that dream, you know. I was like, let me follow this other path. I mean, bills need to be paid and all that. Yeah, so that happened. I followed until I remember in 2019 when I was graduating, you know, with my doctorate. And my dad was giving a speech, and he was like, my daughter, you've done everything. Umesoma, uko na kazi. But me, I still remember when you were before you were conceived, we got a prophecy that, you know, we shall have a daughter, and, you know, she's going to be used by God. You know, she's going to fulfill this particular purpose. And when you were born, we actually saw. So he was like, for me, go back to your purpose. You know, just think about it. You know, go back to your purpose. And it's true. I had reached a point where I was like, okay, I've done so many things now. The kids are now growing. And you know, something like music, and writing, and what you're gifted in and your purpose, you can never suppress that.
Yeah.
Hata ukiwa tu kwa bafu saa ingine, guy, unaimba tu unasema this song should be out there,
Yes,
if you're
true.
writing, somebody should be reading this could be touching someone.
Yeah.
And then I think I went through a process of realizing that, by the way, this calling is bigger than me.
Mm.
And even so, this time when I came back in, that was last year, when I came back, I've been doing music, more with more dedication. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about, okay, that Oscar, that Grammy, it was more of, it was more of, and how many followers, and sometimes we get distracted by that, how many
Very
likes.
many, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to get likes. I mean, we all like to get so many subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it was more of, I could be singing somewhere, or I've released a single, and there's somebody who's going through a very, very difficult day, very difficult season. That person is thinking of just ending, because you've been there.
Yeah.
Must have been, you've been at that place where, actually, God said, just die now.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. The time when you're thinking, God, listen, I expired 3 days ago. You forgot.
Exactly.
I'm just reminding you that it was my time 3 days ago. Let's go.
Yeah. And then you listen to that song, or you read that, a particular forward that somebody just wrote, or you read a book, or you listen to a sermon, and then you just get hope again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
for me,
true.
this time, it's about that person. The dream is not about me. The dream is about that person who is in need to hear what God is saying, who's in need, who's at the brink, cliff. What is it called when they go at the balcony and they want to jump?
The ledge.
Then the ledge, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes, yeah, it's true. I of your songs, by the way, I love them all because you know me. But Datim Branade has this place in my heart which I don't even know. And there's just something about it. And I think it's just because it talks about my situation a few years ago when I was like, how? And then all of a sudden things changed. I had a very tough 2016. And I think if it was not for God, I would but when I look back now at everything good that ever happened, it happened because of what happened in 2016. 2016, we both lost a friend. And part of my career is actually thanks to him, because there's something he told me. I was complaining about my job to him almost every time I talked to him. And he was like, but what's stopping you from moving? And then I was like, yeah, but I had so many excuses. And then when he died, I think I just said, why don't I try? I mean, he's dead. I can, that could have been me. We are the same age. And I think when somebody your age dies, you realize that, so this thing actually does happen.
Yeah.
And so I took the step of faith, and everything that was going wrong that year got corrected in a way that I think it's only God. I genuinely cannot take credit for anything that happened in my life to correct all the things that had happened in 2016. And so for me, that song, it just has a special place in my heart. And every time I hear, at first I used to hear it and cry. And then, then I just started hearing it and it just makes me happy. So I'm past the crying, and then now finally the video came out. I was so happy. Yeah. And then of course there's your latest song, which tell us about it.
Live to Love You.
Oh yes, I absolutely love that one too. But that one everybody seems to love it.
I know, and it's and I was telling somebody, I think I had an interview the other day, and I was telling them I wrote that song in Form 1, Tukiwa Pango.
Yeah.
Pango. And you know, I've been trying to record it, but it was just never the right time. And then this time when I went back and I was like, I see, I just changed these lyrics. Imagine I didn't change any. Because I think it was, you know, those days in Pango when anything, it was just perfect. Mas took on a relationship, poa na Mungu.
Yeah.
And then Form 4s would always come back and tell you, you know, ex Form 4s, the way life is hard out
Life is
there.
hard out there.
Surely, what did they know? They were just 18 or 19.
I
anyway.
know. They were coming with their motivation at 18 and at 19. Now they've been out for 2 months and oh my God, things are so hard.
There are so many
They're still living with mommy and daddy and life is so hard.
Yeah. So anyway, I always feared getting out of Pango and losing my stand with God. Like, you know, and then later on, you know, now massively realizing it wasn't, God is always with us. It wasn't that he was something you're putting in a handbag next to you. I mean, he's with us.
Yeah,
and I think when I was writing the song, I was worried for that temptations I had. I was worried for that time. And I remember writing the song and telling God, I want to live to love you all the days of my life, forever and ever. I don't want to ever lose this feeling. So when I went back to record the song this year, I was like, but that prayer still remains. That prayer is still the same. I could have been 18 then. We now just turned 40 now. We still have decades, hopefully. And I still just want to live with God. Yeah. So basically that's where Live to Love You came from.
The other thing I like about it is the simplicity of it. You know, it has that touch of innocence. Because, you know, now I think if you would have changed words, it would not be as impactful as it is. Because when you change words, then you're adding all the stress that you have been through in the last 20 years, you know, so you're adding to all that. But this one was just there. You know, the way the Bible says you let the children come to me, because so that is just how it was. It was so pure, it was real, it was, and maybe that's the reason why it resonates with everybody, because sometimes when there's a problem attached to it, some people can't relate to that problem, so they're like, oh, that's not mine. But this one was it's just a wish. That's what I want, and that's exactly what everybody wants, whether they're 10, whether they're 15, whether they are 90. They all want the same thing. If you're a Christian, you want to continue loving God. You want to love him tomorrow. You want to love him the day after tomorrow. You want to love him whenever you want to, forever and ever. Yeah.
And Mercy, we've turned the big 40 this year.
Yeah.
And you look, I know people still tell me, you know, you guys are so young. You know, you keep thinking 40 is a big deal.
I told them to stop telling me that.
I still get that, but you're just a baby. But then there's a peace that comes with this age, and there's just some, you know, you're just grateful for where you are now, for the journey so far, and there's a lot of self-discovery and just renewal, I think, that has come with this age for me. Yeah. And seeing my daughter get to that age of, you know, getting into adulthood and just saying, okay, God, now this is a second, you know,
second mothering. A second level of mothering. Yeah, you know, when it's so for me, like I really try to, because you know, when we were growing up, something like if you told your parents, well, I'm glad your father was supportive, but if I would have told my mom that for my career I want to write, I don't know how that conversation would have gone, because I don't think it would have gone very well. But at least nowadays, hopefully our generation, we are more accepting of our children's talents. Still trying to figure out my daughter's talents, because she's not willing to try anything. She gets bored with everything. We tried the guitar thing. We've tried, yeah, she gets bored quickly. But, so what do you do with your children? Do you do the same thing? Do you let them live, or are you kind of strict with, we do this when you're old enough, then you can do it the way I did it? Because that's how you did it. You did the right thing. And then at the right time, you followed your passion. Or do you just hope that they can follow their passion all the way?
Sometimes I think about that and I wonder, was it really the right time? Like, we have successful people who music was their plan A, plan B, plan C, plus plan D.
Yeah.
And they're very successful. with my kids, if you look like you don't have a path, I create it for you. If you are confused, I have 4 kids, so there are those who are clear. Me, I want this for myself. I even have one who wants to play soccer. She believes she can be, she's already training. She's very passionate about that soccer. She never misses a match. And she's very athletic, and she plays a couple of sports, including golf, tennis, swimming, but her passion is in soccer. I will let her explore it. But exploring doesn't mean that your grades fall.
Have to suffer. You have to have plan B.
I believe if you're successful, you can be successful overall. It's just like us. If you're successful in your career, it doesn't mean your children will suffer. If you're a good mother, doesn't mean your career will suffer. You try to sort of have a balance, even if not 100% perfect. So the same applies to them. But those that don't seem to have a clear path, I have to come in as a mother. And it's just not mine. I saw, because even my eldest graduated from high school this year. And I saw there are several of her classmates who are still not sure. Some are taking a gap year to try and
find themselves.
Others are going to try out something. If it doesn't work out, they're hoping to change. And I think it's just to be open, because there's no straight path. There's no straight path, because sometimes, and as I said, not everybody has that passion clear and charted. Some people find their passion through their career journey. You decide to go and do medicine, then you realize you're passionate about children with deformities. Then you start this NGO that you travel across developing countries to perform these pro bono surgeries. You see, so that is a passion that has been birthed through your career path.
Yeah.
Somebody can go and study nutrition or something like that. Then they realize there are so many kids in some country, who are dying of hunger and malnutrition, and they can help through this, and they can raise funds, and they can, so it's there's no clear path. For me, as long as you're moving, as long as you're not stagnant. So everybody there must be progress in your life. This year, what have I done? Next year, what have I done? And once that path is clear, you now start having goals. Okay, so fine, I've realized I'm a writer, or I've realized I can sing. So what are my goals for 2021? What am I planning? Am I writing a book? Am I writing blogs? How many am I writing every month? And what impact is it having to in society? So something like that. I have a friend of mine who's now a photographer, and he was telling me he was first a musician. He believed his path was in the music world, until he started taking photos in concerts for his friends. Then he's now a fully fledged photographer, actually international photographer. He has exhibitions across the world. And so sometimes it's never really clear. But then even with my children, what my emphasis is on, keep moving. There must be progress. Yeah.
Yeah, I also am like that. I'm like, I tell people I'm like a hamster. I have to keep moving. If while I'm waiting for this, I'm starting something else. Anyway, so
And you do so many things.
I just need to finish one of them. You know, my problem is I start and then I read somewhere and I'm like, oh no, this one is more shiny. You know, I'm like a kid like that. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I just like touching a little bit of everything. But this is really, I'm loving the channel because, you know me, I love to talk. And I've realized that all this suffering that I went through in my life, somebody needs to learn from it. You know, it's not right that I never had a big sister to tell me. So maybe someone somewhere out there, I can be their big sister and they get this advice so they don't have to, well, they can make different mistakes. We don't have to keep repeating the same mistakes. We are fixing this world. Huh? So what would you say as a final parting gift to us? Words of advice, words of knowledge.
You know, when it comes to passion, there's so much ambiguity, you know. It's not very, as I mentioned before, it's not very clear for everyone. First of all, I'd like, you know, just look at yourself and ask yourself, what do I like? What do I like doing? What gives me joy? You know, what is that thing that I wake up in the morning and I'm just happy to do? Secondly, what are you good at? You know, I can be passionate about, you know, let's say hairdressing, but I'm not really good at it. I can come and give Mercy a haircut and it's disastrous.
Yeah.
So it's important to know, what are you also good at? And then remember, it will require so much work. And sometimes it's more difficult. I was telling someone this, that I've realized it's more difficult to work within my passion than to work in the, you know, the normal career life. Because it's a clear path. This needs to be done today. Mercy, when you get into the office, you know, this has to be done today, this has to be filed, this client needs to be talked to, we need to make this sales tag. It's very clear. When it comes to your passion, number one is like you're the artist, you're the boss, you're the creative mind, you're the performer, you're the one who decides a new album is coming out tomorrow, you're the one who decides, I mean, especially in the initial stages, right? There's no manager, there's no, you know, yeah, you do everything yourself. So drive, persistence, you know, is very key. Just having that self-drive for, Mercy, you're aware, I mean, nobody's holding a gun to your head for us to have this discussion we are having now. It is you
Exactly.
who decides. But you can easily say, we can do this next week. I can easily say, so we can start this thing next year. Right now, I mean, the kids are still small. Say October. So what's the need? 22 January.
Yeah. I know that. I mean, I totally feel you. The one thing about so on my side, my parting words would be, somebody told me that just start. You know,
Yes.
The hardest part of, especially when you've not followed your passion all through, when you stopped at some points because life happened, and you've decided this is what I want to do, just start. It doesn't matter where you start, but just start. Because the minute you start, the fire gets awoken, and then you get moving. So for example, I have been wanting to write like a fiction book of my experiences, but in fiction form. And I just couldn't. I kept saying, okay, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next week. So I was working on another project for somebody, and she told me, but have you even decided the names of the characters? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, at least just decide the names of the characters. So I sat in my computer and thought, okay, so how many people do I actually want in this? So the person is going to be called this, she's going to go through this, she's going to meet this person. And do you know, before I knew it, I had done the intro.
Wow.
And then I sat, and it took me another month. And then I came up with the chapters. I just wrote the headings for the chapters, and I was like, okay, fine, these are the headings of the chapters. So, it just comes, there are days when I wake up and I'm writing a whole chapter and I'm like, wow. And, sometimes I start with chapter six, and then I'm like, no, chapter 3 is better. And then I go to chapter 3 and, my brain just works like that, but it's almost done now. I mean, it's taken 8 months, but it's almost done. It's actually coming together. And this is because I just started by finding the name of the person that I wanted to write the book about. And that's the same thing with this channel. I decided, let's talk, let's do something, and started.
And sometimes also that belief in yourself, because today I posted on my social media that I'm done with the manuscript of my book. You've been aware that I was writing a book. And I remember when I started, I was like, okay, nini niintambia watu hawajaisikia? There's that thing, or will people buy my book? Or so the first thing is to believe. By the way, we all have something to offer. We all have something to offer. And because there's a lot of second guessing when it comes now to your passion, because you're like, even if you want to make dresses, or you want to make, you're like, natabai hizi vitu zangu. I mean, watu wanabaingi vitu from shops. Who is this person? But you need to start from a point where you have self-belief. And you just start as you put it. I remember for me, because I got a writing coach who every day at 5 a.m., because that's the time now I prepare to leave for work, we had a target of a word count that I had to send her by that time. So I would have to type, and then I take a screenshot of, your word count at the at the bottom of the screen to just today I've written whatever 2,000 words or whatever. And it had to be before my day begins. So that played an important, role in keeping me glued. And so, as you say, it's just starting. I will listen to beautiful musicians and ask myself, guy, who will listen to my work while there's so and so, there's so and so, there's so and so, But the thing is, and the writing gets better. The creativity gets better. The more you do it, the better it gets.
All right, thank you so much, Doris, Dr. Doris Change, or as I call her, Dr. D. Apparently other people also call her that, but I call her that first. So I knew her first. I knew she was going to be Dr. D before she was Dr. D. So anyway, so thank you so much for taking your time and for us actually having this conversation in the middle of the darkness. And thank you so much for this. And you have a lovely, lovely evening.
Thank you, you too. Thank you for having me.